If you want to know how bad today was going, this sums it up pretty well. So yeah, this week at Steel Cities here was a little bit off for me. I started feeling last week at North Park that my tires weren't, 100% up to where they were before. After the summer showcase event, which was the last event before North Park, they actually hit about 120 runs. So about that 120, 125 mark, that's around when it appears the Yoks kind of start giving up. I had these tires in 2021. And I thought they were good until the very end. And I'm not saying they're trash by any means. Like the RT660s were like total trash from like, run 120 onwards, and they lasted. They had tread life, until 130 runs for me at least. The Yoks, on the other hand, they're definitely still pretty good. I'm not saying that they're like, totally dropped off the deep end, but there is definitely a noticeable difference right now. And I kind of feel like it's good for like, half a second somewhere in there is kind of like missing, it seemed like today. I was pushing really hard. I actually hit 3 cones today. I was smashing cones all over the place. And that was because I couldn't keep the car like kind of where I wanted it. Like the minute you try to turn in, and like sometimes it would bite and sometimes it wouldn't bite. Like it was kind of unpredictable. So on some corners I would, turn in, especially to the left it seemed. I would turn to the left and, the car wouldn't hook up, and then out of nowhere, like sometimes it would hook up. So like then you'd be too far over. So you couldn't, you just couldn't dial it in. You couldn't figure it out. It was very hard to kind of drive today at like, at 10 tenths. Now at like 8 tenths or 9 tenths, like if you dialed it back a little bit, the car was much more manageable and like everything seemed to be a little bit better. But obviously, if you're going for time, you can't be driving like that. All right, so here's me sitting at the line here for my first run in the afternoon. Even today, the car wasn't even really launching that well. It just couldn't get traction in the rear, couldn't get traction in the front or the rear. So here's me going off the line, going into this corner. This is one of the ones that either the front tires hooked up too much or too little. That time they did it a little bit more than I was expecting. Looking out the passenger side window, heading up here. And this slalom here, I had to let off here and there, and I couldn't commit, heading into this little transition here very well. And this back corner here, a lot of times I went too deep. I probably went too deep that time. And then in another run, I smashed this cone, so I was really hesitant heading into there. And then this whole back section, you just kind of linked it all together. It was full throttle, and I had to go into third at the very end here because my car taps out pretty quickly. You can see I'm pretty happy at this point. Normally I don't get, my first run in the afternoon is not my best, nor do I even improve in the afternoon very often right out of the bat. So, it wasn't a terrible day. It wasn't a good day. It was just kind of a very average day. And I feel like I could have done better, but, I was a little bit farther down the list than I thought it was going to be. This is what always happens at this point in the season for me is, I just kind of run out of tire.